Welcome to the Imperfect Dads podcast.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Devin.
We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids,
but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like.
Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood.
And how they feel like they're holding it all together.
Or how they're not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. On this episode, we have on musician Jedd Hughes. Jedd has got to be one of the easiest guests to talk to we've had on, and was so comfortable sharing everyday life moments with him that I kind of had to remind myself that he's a world-class guitar player. Jedd is from Australia, so we talked about the Australia music scene, the chaos of getting 3 kids to sleep at night, all 3 kids sometimes getting along, recording music at home and switching from parenting mode to creativity mode, the stress of moving, and finding good schools for your kid. We also talked about how he recorded his new album, Nightshades. Jedd's new album comes out on May 2nd, and he will also be playing an album release show at 3rd and Lindsley on May 4th at 7 p.m. presented by Lightning 100. If you can't make it to the show, make sure you catch him on tour with Vince Gill this summer, and we hope you enjoy the episode. You are actually our 3rd Australian guest that we've had on the show.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. So we had on one of my friends who just moved here from Australia, who I don't think you would know. And we had on Wesley Dean, who I don't know if you know who Wesley Dean is.
That name's familiar, but I don't think we've met.
He won Australian Idol, season 6 or something like that.
Okay.
So
yeah, cool.
I feel like there's a surprising amount of Australians who do like country Americana music and they end up in Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah, this really is Mecca for anyone that is, remotely interested in roots music or, American music in general, really.
Yeah.
We all seem to gravitate here eventually. It's amazing how many Aussies I meet.
Yeah.
Every year that, have either never been here or like they've been coming here for years and suddenly I just kind of meet them. And more often than not, we are, there's only like 2 or 3 degrees of separation and there's some common ground. Australia it's a massive country, but it is a very small population and small place. So everybody is in some way kind of connected,
Is there any Australian food or like pastries or anything that you miss being in the States?
Well, my mum does an amazing job of making sure I have Tim Tams pretty much every other month.
That's cool.
And then chicken twisties are like one of my favorite things in life. And Cadbury koalas, which my kids love too. Which are just little Cadbury chocolates.
Okay.
Aussie pies like made in Adelaide.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of miss like Balfour's pies, things like that don't seem to show up over here. But honestly, like I've been here almost 25 years.
Oh man, yeah.
From college through to moving up to Nashville and bouncing all over the place. Since then, I've lived more of my life in America now than I have in Australia.
Yeah.
So there are definitely pleasant things that I forget about when I go home that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's so good. But I don't really think about it that much anymore. I'm so sort of climatized to living here and,
What year did you move to Nashville?
I moved to Nashville in 2002.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So before it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was such a different place, man.
It was.
I mean, my God, it was like night and day compared to nowadays.
Yeah, my brother went to Vanderbilt. I'm from Southern Indiana originally.
Oh, yeah.
My brother went to Vanderbilt from like 2000 to 2004. Then I went to Belmont from 2000 to 2010. So I know what it's looked like back then. And it is, just Broadway alone, like going downtown to Broadway in 2002 versus nowadays.
Yeah.
Different world, different life.
Yeah, you used to be able to park on Broadway in front of the place you were walking into. I mean, what a concept. So crazy.
Yeah, very much so. How'd you end up in the States, or what brought you over here? Was it college?
Yeah, I came over here when I was 18 to go to college. I got a scholarship to a really cool little community college in West Texas called South Plains College, and I was studying music. They had this amazingly built out music department that was funded by Waylon Jennings and Tom T. Hall in the 70s.
What?
Yeah, they were from that area right there. There's like
Okay.
there's like a little triangle of little towns in West Texas. There's Levelland, Littlefield, and a couple of others, and then you've got Lubbock right there.
Okay, yeah.
You know, where Buddy Holly and Waylon and all that sort of stuff happened. And those guys invested some money in the 70s into the music department and really propped up that college, and it became a place that retired West Texas and Texas musicians who didn't want to tour anymore would come and teach.
Yeah.
So like, you know, there's these amazing musician teachers that were at this little college, and I found out about it through a bluegrass mate of mine from Australia.
Yeah.
Who said, you know, if you want to know more about bluegrass and about, you know, old timey Western swing, like really traditional country music, he's like, you should go to this college in Texas. So I applied to it when I was 18, and I came out here, and I was spent 3 semesters there, and then I moved up to Nashville after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's I mean, like, that's like outlaw country, right? That's like Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, like the Highwaymen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it. It feels like those guys could ride up on a horse at any point.
I remember I had the Highwaymen vinyl at one point in time, and it's like mountains, and it's like their faces in the clouds, like above it. And
That's right.
It's beautiful. It is the most ridiculous looking vinyl ever, and it's perfect.
I forgot about that.
Is that
like the Mount Rushmore of country?
Yes,
music.
it's the Mount Rushmore of 70s and 80s country that did whatever the hell they wanted at all times.
Yeah, you know, and we're all the better for it. It's such great music.
Yeah, there's so many, not to tangent on music too much, but I feel like there's so many bands. Like, if we didn't have Waylon Jennings, would we have had, you know, like Sturgill Simpson and Margot Price and all these people? I don't like. Yeah. I feel like Waylon's legacy is still like lived out today through a lot of modern day artists.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when I heard that music, my dad just so happened to be a massive fan of 70s American country music.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, hearing Waylon Jennings when I was a kid and hearing that kind of music, and Willie Nelson, you know, and his guitar playing, I was just like, it was like music from Mars to me when I was a kid. You know, I was like, whoa, you know, it was like, you know, on Sundays the local little TV channel would replay these old Western movies.
Yeah.
You know, amazing, like great John Wayne movies and all this cool stuff. And then my dad would put these records on. And so, you know, I mean, right from when I was really little, you know, even younger than my boy is, I was just so enamored with like this place called America and this music and these cowboys and Telecasters and you know, it just seemed like the coolest thing in the world.
What was just because I have no idea, what was like pop music in Australia? Do you have many, like, whenever you listen to the radio, is it mostly Australian artists, or is it like other countries that have infiltrated like your radio waves?
You know, back then it was a lot more international outside music than there was local music on the radio. Yeah. But I was still very aware of like Australian music and iconic artists down there. You know, I grew up listening to, you know, for as much as I sort of, you know, took in my dad's record collection of all these, you know, sort of outside things. I was also very much aware of like Aussie heroes like Slim Dusty and John Williamson and, you know, Aussie pub rock bands, you know, Cold Chisel, Jimmy Barnes, Paul Kelly, you know, which was all like really amazing. And it actually at the time, it didn't seem like it was that different to international music. You know, it was like, it was pretty high level, like Aussie music by that point was, you know, really great. And, you know, it was it was pretty cool to have, both worlds, you know, hearing that kind of stuff. Like I have a vivid memory of hearing the Traveling Wilburys on AM radio, uh, Handle Me With Care, like when I was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. And I remember thinking, I don't know why I like this, but I like this. Like this, there's something about this that's kind of cool, and it seems like those guys are having fun.
Yes, very much
I
so.
do
Yes.
remember. I do remember thinking that, like, wow, that sounds like it's fun.
I mean, I think on that song specifically, I mean, how many people do you have trading off on verses? You've got like Ray Orbison, Tom Petty, like George Harrison in that also.
Yeah, George Harrison. Bob Dylan. Yeah,
they're all just trading off verses and choruses like it's a casual thing, and you're just like, what? How? This is insane. Like, I don't remember if they toured or not because I wasn't alive. So, but I could imagine if anyone got to see a Traveling Wilburys show, like it would have been like, oh my God, there's so much talent on this stage. I have no idea. Like, how does my brain process this?
Oh God, I know. Yeah. It's interesting that like there was the Wilburys and there was the Highwaymen. I'd never thought of those two groups in the same conversation like we just have, but that's interesting.
Yeah. I feel like they're about the same time period. I mean, I guess super groups don't happen as much. I mean, there's the Highway Women, which was like what Amanda Shires, Miranda Lambert, and I can't think of the other people in it right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Brandi Carlile, Natalie Hemby.
Oh, not bad. Yeah, not bad.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, so that's like the last super group I can think of happening. But like, I feel like in the 80s, they're always getting everyone together, like the singing songs for children and stuff like that, and that just doesn't happen anymore. Bring it back. That's what we're here for.
Save the world again.
Save the world again. But yes. It's just more tangenting. Is Silverchair's from Australia, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I feel like they were like the grungy, like that's the only Australian band I remember like listening to growing up was Silverchair.
Yeah. I mean, that record Frog Stomp was
that
was as big in Australia as it was worldwide. Like it was just massive. Everybody was listening to that. It was like our Nirvana, our local Nirvana. And that actually that was a really healthy period for Australian rock and roll, and like there were a lot of great bands that came out of that time. Politically things got weird and bands weren't able to develop like in the 90s, it was like really the height of that, like being able to build a band and go play at the local pub and like suck for a while and then like kind of get good and then get really good. Like after the sort of the government passed some things to where they started having slot machines in pubs and pubs stopped hiring live music as much. And it really dropped off. And I sort of feel like the amount of amazing Australian music like really sort of shrunk down because there weren't those places where people could go and develop their thing. But that being said, I do hear a lot of, Aussie music nowadays that like blows my mind. There's all kinds of stuff going on again. So that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. There's for all the listeners, there's your random deep dive into late 90s, early 2000s Australian music.
More than you'll ever need to know.
That's why you came to a dad podcast, right? That's where you're here. Which is my way to segue or attempt to segue away from discussing music for an hour. How many kids do you have? Like, what are ages, gender, all that good stuff?
We have 3 kiddos. We have 2 little girls that our girl Lucy's about to be 4. And then our other girl, Billy, will be 6 in July. And then our eldest, our boy, Cass, is 9, just went 9 in January.
Nice. I have, my birth order goes daughter, son.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. So very similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
boy, do I feel you.
It's so fascinating because like they're at the age where like they've got so much more independence to them, but they also don't have a lot of independence to them. So I feel like, we're not in diapers anymore. They don't really take naps anymore.
Right.
But like they still aren't like, you still have to be around. You still have to like you are still being a chauffeur or transporting them around. How do you feel about the ages of your kids in your day-to-day life right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool because they've just started getting along as a little group together. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't happen a whole lot yet, but every now and then a half an hour will go by, or sometimes an hour, uh, where they're just off doing their thing together. And, I'm checking in, but they're definitely got their own little ecosystem happening between the three of them, which is really awesome. I do love that they are clicking like that, like, I mean, they fight like any other kids do.
Yeah.
And, inevitably there are tears at some point, but it's pretty cool. They're getting along. And, um, I think it's sweet that, our boy Cass has sisters. I
Yeah.
think I grew up in I have two older brothers. We never had a sister to kind of help even out the energy a bit,
Yep.
and sort of chill things out when that needs to happen.
Yep.
And so I do notice that having the female energy for him is like, it's good. It's like, creates a really nice balance. At times. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Depending.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it feels with us too. Where like I remember someone told us who also had two daughters and a son, and the son was youngest.
Yeah.
They were like, "Your son will always have three moms. Like wherever he goes, the two older sisters will try to be his mom. Your wife will be his mom. Like he will be mommed every second of his life until they go off to college."
Right.
And I'm like, that's so far pretty accurate.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's good. I think it's a healthy thing, and I feel lucky that we do have girls and boys, and and that they seem to be, pretty tight so far.
Yeah. So I do this where like we have a big basement. So all three of them will go downstairs and play in the basement. And I'll like keep an ear out, be aware of what's happening down there, but not be down there. And I'm still learning the difference of cries. Cause like there's the I'm actually hurt cry.
Yeah.
And there's the I'm pissed off at my sister cry.
Yeah.
And then I wait. I like sit up there, I hear the cry, and I'm like, is this a I need to interject cry or a they can figure it out cry? Have you entered into that realm at all yet?
Yes, it's funny you say that. I have just picked up on that in the
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like literally within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, deciphering the level of intensity of what's happening, and it actually really helps to figure out which one is which, because
it is,
because when it's serious or not, or when they're trying to play you, they're trying to angle,
yes.
they're angling for something,
Yep.
Yeah. They're crafty, man.
They are crafty.
I mean, it's mind-boggling how early that starts.
I don't know if it's the same for you, but whenever my oldest cries, that's whenever I know it's serious.
Right.
The other two crying, sorry, younger kids. I'm kind of like, meh, they'll get over it. But if the oldest one is crying, then I like sprint down the stairs and I'm like, what happened? Because if she's crying, something happened. Tell me what happened.
Right. Yeah. It's funny, man. It's their little personalities. It's so interesting how, like, watching them develop from these little people that can't really communicate much at all, and there seems to be this like leap that happens into this like full-on articulation of what they need, and like I feel like it just happened like that.
Yeah.
Like even with our 4-year-old, like, or almost 4-year-old, like within the last couple of weeks, she's just gone from like sort of like meandering with her little thoughts to like very direct like sentences.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing, like, to witness that development, because it's like, and she's the youngest, and I do feel like she has an advantage over the other two because she has their level of development so close. She's able to reach for that quicker, and she's able to grasp that quicker,
Yeah.
whereas the other ones has sort of had to struggle a bit more.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's wild.
Do your kids also do? I feel like I remember this whenever they were really little. They will for months never do something, and then they do it once and they act like they've been doing it the entire time. Like I feel like your baby goes from like crawling to walking, and then they walk with like the confidence of someone who's been walking their entire existence. And you're just like,
Yeah.
you didn't do this yesterday.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you didn't talk in full sentences yesterday, and here you are just nonstop talking.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. I mean, I have the sweetest, most vivid memory of our girl Billy. Like literally, we thought she was never gonna walk. Like she was so late in her development, and we were like, something's got to be wrong, like we took her to a pediatrician. She was like, she's gonna have to see a specialist, and we were like, oh no, like, okay, all right, we'll try to figure that out. And then literally the day she got home from all that drama, she just popped up and started walking. And like, she stumbled a little bit and grabbed a coffee table, and then, and she had the biggest like shit-eating grin on her face. Like, psych.
Psych. Dude, that's second. Like I've seen some good memes that are like, your third child is so chill because your second child gave you so many heart attacks. And that, because like our first child walked at like, I think 11 months or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Early adapter, on the go at all times. Second child, I think, was 15 months.
Wow.
So like, we had like 6 months of being like, okay, we know she was advanced, but I feel like something is wrong here.
Yeah.
And then, around like 15 months, she just started walking like she'd been doing it her entire life. And you're just like, do you know how anxious? Do you know how many times we talked to the doctor about this moment?
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. And then our third born was like month 13, walked like it was normal. So I'm like, I don't know. Like every child's different is the most cliche but accurate like parenting thing ever. It's the worst.
I know, it really is. And the other one is, time flies, like make sure you're, take it all in. I've heard it a million times, and every time I hear it, I'm like, yes, you are right. Because it is absolutely going by like nothing,
Yeah. How old did you say your oldest is again?
He just went 9 in January. 9.
Yeah. My daughter just turned 9 in February. So they're about the same age. Yeah.
Yeah.
It still trips me out to realize that next year she'll be 10. And I'm trying to keep those thoughts at bay. That like she's about to be 10, and to have been like, even selfishly, that I've been a parent for almost a decade is kind of like, that can't be true. Are you serious? It's already been a decade? Are you sure? Come on.
I know. It doesn't seem possible, does it?
It doesn't.
I know. It's... And they're still alive. Like I somehow kept them alive this whole time.
Somehow.
How did I do that? Yeah.
Whenever anyone has like the 1-year birthday celebration, I always go up to the parents and I'm like, just so you know, this is more celebration that the kid is still alive, and so are you guys, than anything else. So just know your kid will take a nap in the middle of the cake. They'll cry and scream about something.
Yeah.
This is to celebrate this child's alive and you guys are alive.
Yeah.
And that's what this whole party is about. So here we go.
That's all it is. You did it.
You've done it. You've done it, because that first year is brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't even know yourself at that first year. In fact, I was just talking to our neighbor. We had all our dogs running around outside, and they have a little one, and he said he's only like 6 or 8 months, I think, and he won't sleep during the day. Like, he just won't nap.
Oh no!
But he sleeps all night. Sleeps great during the night. And I said, "Wow." I was like, "How you doing? Like, how you really doing?"
Yeah.
And he was just shook his head, and I was like, "Oh, buddy, I know." It's like, it is full on survival mode, and it is, and you don't know, like, that level of sleep deprivation when you're just pushing through things that you just don't even think you could ever push through.
Yeah.
Like it your reality becomes so moment to moment.
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to get through this one to get to the next one. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't. I mean, you know, it's like
Yeah.
it is survival mode. It's like full on survival mode. And it's been like that for us. I feel like really up until the last month or so.
Oh, really?
Because when you start having multiple kids, like suddenly night times become like the hallways become like zombies, man.
Yeah.
They're just like they're drifting around. This one ends up on the couch, that one ends up in that one's bed.
Yep.
I end up in their bed.
Yep.
My wife is, it's just it is utter chaos through the night.
Yeah.
And we are just now starting to get to a point to where like the dust is settling a little bit. Billy's staying in her bed. Cass is either on the couch or in his bed, but he's definitely in one or the other and not anywhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife is in our bed and I'm bouncing between, our bed and like Lucy coming down the stairs. She's, yeah. You know what I'm saying.
I do. No, it's so funny because like it's I am confused if it's a night where I wake up in the morning and there isn't a child in our bed. Like then I'm more worried because I'm kind of like, wait, what happened? Like, because there's always some kid who's like, I had a bad dream. What was it about? I don't know. And then they fall asleep in your bed and you're like, well, I'm glad you view our bed as a place of safety. That's good. Yeah. That's what I'm going to take from this. But
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there's like, I don't know. I have some friends who like their kids will do that also. And they are so terrified of their stairs because they're like, they have like their kid is like 6 or 7 and they still have the gate in front of the steps because they're so worried about them sleepwalking into their room and just tumbling down the steps. And it's like, these are the little anxieties they don't tell you about whenever you have a child.
Oh my God, I know. I mean, just your general levels of anxiety, I feel like are, it's mind blowing. Like my levels of stress and anxiety just from day to day operations. My wife is always like, we don't have a problem. We're just stuck in fight or flight all the time.
It's kind of true though. Like
it is true.
Because like it's crazy because like the anxiety you feel as a parent, like it's not like I feel like the baseline is basically like, as we were just joking about, am I keeping this human alive? So that's not like, are they being fed correctly? Are they achieving any dreams? Do I understand their personality? It's just like, am I keeping them alive today? Sometimes that's just like the baseline of anxiety of it's a human being. Am I doing enough to keep them like sheltered, warm, alive, clothed, all this stuff? And then you got on top of that, like, hey, do you know the personality? No, because I was at work all day, so I didn't have time to talk to them. Ah, crap. Okay, I'll add that to the list of things I didn't do today.
Yeah, I know, and I also feel like there's such a massive societal pressure to like fix the things that maybe our parents did wrong.
Yes. Yeah.
And and then you have all of a sudden you start looking in the mirror and you're like, well, shit, I've got problems. Like,
yeah.
So I got to work on me, and I got to make sure I don't repeat that with them. And then you're constantly checking yourself to see like what's coming out of your mouth. Is this my programming or is this? Am I, being myself? Who am I in this moment? I don't even know. And and then you just chase your tail around like. It's crazy.
And then you're like, I should start therapy, which honestly, everyone could benefit from therapy and counseling. Oh, yeah. And then you're like, but wait, when do I have time to do therapy? And then you end up finding times for it. But like, it takes enough times of having those moments of like, wait, why did I your kid does something that pisses you off. And then you respond the way your mom or dad did. And you're like, where did that come from?
Oh, yeah.
That's buried in there somewhere. I didn't know that was in there. Yeah. I should probably talk to someone. Oh, no, they're doing something else. Hold on.
Yeah. Man. I have been up and down the mountain many times with that.
Yeah.
With that. I mean, and trying to understand like why I react the way I react or, why I'm parenting a certain way in a situation. And, most of the time all roads lead back to the way we were brought up. And
yeah, I think so.
And, until you're really pushed to question something, maybe something you're doing is not working the way you're trying to deal with a situation, and you step back and you think, okay, well, that's what I remember from when I was a kid, but that's not working with this kid.
Yeah.
what do you do? What do I do?
Yep.
And I feel like that's where having a partner that is already aware of that,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe they themselves are dealing with the same thing, but like somebody that you can turn to and be like, I don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
what have you got any ideas? Because I just
Yeah.
totally blew it in this situation,
Yep.
and and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know
Yeah.
how to deal with this. I don't, you know,
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. My wife is so awesome, and um, and even though we haven't talked to each other in years.
When was your last date night?
We
When
haven't
was your...
finished a sentence in 10 years.
That's true. That is. I mean, my wife and I text more than we probably tell stories to each other. So no, I sadly relate to that more than I would like to.
Oh man, it's crazy. I miss her, and we live together. I mean,
Yep.
but we did go on a date night last night.
Oh, that's good.
Which was awesome. We went to the Grand Ole Opry and saw some friends of ours play,
Nice.
And we went over to the mall and had an overpriced average meal, and it was still great because we got to be quiet and together, and it was awesome.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of what you're alluding to. I feel like parenting, in a lot of scenarios, is one of the first times that you will try your best and it won't mean anything. And that is the most humbling experience ever. And it's an opportunity to lean on your partner, lean on your community to be like, hey, I'm trying my best here. And it doesn't mean anything. But
Yeah.
you have to, your pride and your ego gets destroyed so quickly when you have a kid, because you'll be like, this is how I'm going to approach this scenario. I'm going to do this. It's going to work out well. This is my best foot forward. And your kid looks at you and it's like, I don't care about any of your intentions here. I'm not going to do what you just said. And you're like, that was the best I had.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Well, okay.
Ruh-roh.
Uh-oh. What's your wife do for a living?
She works for a boot company. She's the head of marketing for a boot company called Dingo Boots. The irony. Right?
Where are they located? Are they located in Australia?
No, they're in Clarksville. And they've been there since the late 60s.
Dingo Boots.
Yeah, they're the only original and oldest boot company in Nashville.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool. So she slings boots and she drags me into photo shoots every now and then to
nice, yeah.
help her out, and then I hook up all my friends with
nice.
dingo boots.
It's just, is your wife from Australia or is she from the States?
She's from the States.
Okay, that's helpful. If she was from Australia also and ended up at if someone said I'm Australian, I would probably say the word dingo shortly after.
Yeah.
That would just be, oh, that's too, you are like the perfect model for their boots. You love Western stuff. And you're Australian, so.
Yeah, I keep telling her that, and yet they still will not pay me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm kidding. They give me boots.
They pay you in boots.
I have a shitload of dingo boots if
you
need it.
Do you really? Okay, good. I know you just recorded a new album. You're going to release it in May. Tell us a little about that process, or tell us about the album.
Yeah. So the recording of the new record started in Austin when we were living there.
Okay.
We decided to migrate down there during the pandemic, basically because we had some old friends that live down there. And we also found this amazing mid-century house that we found online on the internet, and we just thought it looked so cool, and why not just move to Austin?
Yeah.
So we did, and I built out the garage into a home studio because I was doing a lot of projects where people would send me stuff to play on and sing on, and I would do that and then send them the tracks back, and just sort of isolation recording.
Yeah. When you sorry to interject, when you aren't writing and performing your own music, do you mostly do studio session guitar work?
Yeah, I'm mainly write with other people and play sessions, play on people's records.
Sweet, cool.
Yeah. But when we were in Austin, I was in a song club where there was a group of us online from all over the world and we all had to write one song every week.
Cool.
By ourselves, and we had to send it in. We had a deadline. Everybody was accountable. We had a deadline, and we had to send in a lyric and a little work tape of the song, and then we'd all listen to each other's music and give some feedback, and it was really very cool. And so I'd written a pile of songs from the song club, and I was talking to my friend Rodney Crowell one day, and I said, "Yeah, I need to make another record, and I got all these songs. Would you help me sort of pull together a group of songs and produce the record for me and with me?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." So I started sending him songs as I was writing them, and he and I started writing some things together. And I built some of the music at home with my recording setup at home, and then we added a live band to those tracks, and then other things we just recorded live with a small band in the studio. um, and did it that way. And it's taken a little bit of time to get it out, because I mean, I think maybe the project is 2.5 years old since it probably got finished completely. But it's coming out in May 2nd. First single came out 2 weeks ago, which has my friend Sarah Buxton singing background vocals on it.
Yeah.
Which is really amazing.
Which is funny because she also, I'm pretty sure, sings on a Wesley Dean song.
Oh,
so
really?
I only know her for singing on Australian country-themed musicians' work.
The Aussies love Sarah.
Do that? It seems like you guys do. So
yeah. We played down there. We played a festival down there together. Yeah, I love playing with Sarah.
Cool.
She's one of my favorite people in the world.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's kind of how the record happened, and I'm excited that it's coming out. It's got some things that are very near and dear to me on the record. Some very personal songs, and it's got a lot of amazing guests. People that came in. John Hyatt came in and sang on a track, and
nice.
And Sarah's on it, and Rodney Crowell, and Corey Chisel. Yeah, just I'm glad it's seeing the light of day.
Yeah. What can I ask what took it so long to see the light of day, or was just the way things worked out?
We just couldn't figure out how to put it out in this modern era of releasing music.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there are so many options, and some of it was probably like analysis paralysis. Like we just didn't really know what to do. But at the 11th hour, Rodney was talking to me about this guy Clark imprint called Truly Handmade Records, to put out some of guys' back catalog and work tapes and things that they were finding that Guy had recorded. And Guy was always great about taking young writers and people like me under his wing, and allowing us to come over and write with him, and really like encouraging us and teaching us by writing how to write a good song, and what songwriting is. And so I sort of felt connected to that and to the Truly Handmade thing because of my relationship with Guy. And there was a song on the record, which was the second song I ever wrote with Guy 20 something years ago, that I was like, we got to record this song. It's one of my favorite songs. So it just, became a bit full circle in a way when they announced that imprint and that they wanted to put the record out and help with the distribution. And then we were like, okay.
Yeah.
That was step one. And step two was Rodney and Vince Gill. Rodney was like, all right, here's what we should do. We should go play a show and we'll take the money from ticket sales of the show, and we'll put that towards helping fund, a publicist and people to help out to distribute the record and push it out. So, I am incredibly lucky to have, amazing friends like Rodney and Vince. We went and played an acoustic show up in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And, 1,000, 1,200 people or something came out.
That's awesome.
And we played this acoustic show together, and we made, enough money to put the record out. So,
that's awesome.
And those guys were, kind enough to be like, here you go, Jedd.
Yeah. Like they weren't like, hey, I'm going to need a cut of that. They're like, hey, man, this is for you. Like, here you go.
It was beautiful.
That's really cool, man. I've never met Vince Gill, but I've only heard that he's a very generous and very good person.
Oh, man. He and Rodney are brothers.
Whenever you record an album, what do you do to still feel connected to your family? Because whenever you go in the studio, you got to be full creative mode, and then you're back to dad once you step out. How do you feel like you handled all that?
It was a real struggle in the beginning to switch modes from being creatively down the rabbit hole and focused to being pulled back to reality with whatever drama was happening in the house,
Yep.
And finally, I just kind of gave into it. I had to take my hands off and be completely open to total chaos at any given moment. And I have this YouTube show called Jedd in the Shed that I started during the pandemic. And the more I tried to control like the environment and keeping kids away, the more it wasn't ever going to work that way. And I had to, and I realized I just have to be okay with things blowing up at any given moment. And once I let go, and the kids, like they come in while I'm filming during episodes, and the people that watch my little show, they love it.
Yeah,
they love it. Like it's because I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. I'm just trying to be myself in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And the fact that my family is a part of it sometimes, that's just our reality.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. And sometimes my dogs go mental. Like if the UPS guy shows up, like, I mean, it is chaos around here.
Yep.
I mean, as you know.
Yep.
And so and the same creatively, it was harder creatively in the beginning because, I felt like getting into that place was tough to begin with. And then being pulled out of it so quickly, it really would rattle me,
Yeah.
But I started to lean into that too. And what I discovered was I actually became more productive in general because I would get these little fractions of time, and they would be so dense with creativity because I wasn't able to get to it when I wanted to, but it would be waiting for me when I would have some time to put into it. So I probably write more. I probably have more ideas, play more, listen to music more. Now that I have all of this and this amazing, beautiful, chaotic thing, because time has changed, like there's no time to waste. And so there's not really any of that happening, but I get these little increments of things and I experience music differently because I experience it with them. Like our youngest loves Bob Marley.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she's 4 years old, and every morning we drive him to school. She's like, Bob Marley, Bob Marley. And I'm like, yeah, Bob Marley's cool.
That's fun.
I was like, that's okay. But put it on. I've never really listened to Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Well, I love Bob Marley now.
Yeah.
And like I listen to the bass in Bob Marley, and I listen to the message, and I listen to all these things that I would never have listened to. And that's a beautiful silver lining to the whole situation, you know? Like, you know, sometimes we get so career centric and driven that we, you know, try to build these walls around this precious thing that we're, you know, trying to, you know, get to the top of the mountain in this dream. And at least that's how it was for me personally.
Yeah, of course.
And what I figured out was that is that becomes, it's important, but it's so much less important than the present moment of all of this beautiful stuff that's happening. You know, it's like that's couldn't actually mean less than what this amazing, you know, crazy thing of this half diaper hanging off of this kid that's walking down the stairs, you know, with a wet wipe hanging out of their butt, you know. It's like, you know, as you know, I mean, that shifts radically, and you realize like what true beauty is and how beautiful being in the present moment is. So the creative thing, that it shifted and it was awkward for a bit, but now it's all, I'm just letting it be fluid and it's all okay.
Well, I'm also going to assume that that's probably a new creative process or new creative mindset for you to enter into. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's totally new.
Yeah. So then you've also got to like, I mean, you're basically retraining your brain of like, here's how I write a song. No one's nearby. There's no interruptions. Cool. That's not your life right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I still need to write songs.
Yes.
How do I do this?
Exactly. That is it. So you figure out ways, you know, you figure out ways to, you know, driving down the road and you're like, okay, I've got 10 minutes between here and there. Yeah. That thought that I had that I didn't have time to put any time into earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Let's bring that back. Okay, I've got 10 minutes to work on like framing up this little idea, and I have my phone. Yeah. I keep voice memos.
Yep. I was just going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. And I write things down and I make, you know, silly little work tapes of me singing into the phone, and it gets it done. It's like just a different way of getting it done.
I also love that you're saying the phrase work tape, because I know that's what it's called, but no, like to record the tape anymore is a very specific scenario in which, you know, you're in like a studio, they've got the tape deck and all of that. Yeah. But in my mind, I'm like, hey, no, it's the work tape. You're going to submit the work tape later to you're going to Dropbox this to a friend later. There's no tape involved.
Yeah, I know. That's probably never going to change for me.
It's not, you know what? But I love noticing those phrases where like, you know, you go to do a phone and you do like this and it's like, no phone has been, let's look like this, like in years. Like,
wow. Yeah.
That's when you feel like you're like, I'm old. That's all I've learned from this. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. I'm squarely in the Middle Ages right now. I was born in 1982 and I am about to be 43.
Yeah. So you're like, this is it. This is middle. This is it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm there.
That's right. And you said where you recorded, it was like a shed in your backyard.
Yeah. It was a converted garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your walk to work was literally closing the back door and all of the chaos, probably walking 20 steps to the garage and opening it up and be like, now be creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would take a while to get used to.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is tough on a good day. And you know, the other interesting thing is like that used to be my modality of like, okay, I'm going to go here and I'm going to be creative now. And some days it works and some days it didn't.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't have the luxury of that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like, no, this
is when I write. I have to do it now.
Yeah. Yeah. So like sometimes in the middle of the night, like literally the other night, it was like 11 o'clock and I was laying in bed and I was just about to fall asleep. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to wake up. And I woke up and I just had to work on this whole idea that just seemed to be filtering down out of the day. It was like the dust settling on the day. And I was like, I'm going to have to sit up and work on this or it's just going to disappear. And so I wrote a whole song. Like I wrote 5 verses of this story completely from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you know, had I sat down and at 10 o'clock in the morning and been like, I'm going to write a song today, it would never have happened.
Nope. It's so frustrating because, like, yeah, you create habits, you create patterns in which hopefully creativity follows. But like, I'm a believer of that. Of like, you can't guarantee creativity. Like, you can't guarantee the song comes to you. All you can do is create the space for it.
Yes.
And that's what I think is so exhausting about it, being a creatively minded person. As you sit there, like, all right, I'm here. Let's do this. I'm ready. I get the kids are at school. I got this. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then your brain is like, do you want to take a nap? And you're like, no, I cannot take a nap right now.
Yeah.
But yes, I do.
Yeah. Do not put Landman on. Do not put Landman on.
Do not, just don't touch the remote. Leave your phone in a separate room. But my voice memos are on there. Oh, dang it. So no, it's even, I'm not a songwriter or musician, but I still feel the drive to be creative.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'll sit down to be like, all right, I'm in my creative space. I'm at I'm at a coffee shop with headphones on. Let me sit down and like just type out some thoughts. And then I type out like one sentence and I'm like, should I be home doing something else right now? And it's like, no, your wife has already told you, go get away for an hour.
Yeah.
Go do whatever. And you were sitting here being like, but I'm probably needed somewhere because I'm used to being needed like almost every second of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And you're probably like me, like even between like the space between walking from the kitchen up here to my little studio, there will be at no less than 5 or 6 things that I could do along the way.
Yeah.
That probably need to be done.
Yep.
But that I have to walk away from and like cringe because I'm like, that needs to be picked up. That needs to be put away. That has to go over there. The steps haven't been vacuumed in a week. There's dog hair everywhere, you know, like, but I have to make myself walk past it all and, you know, close the door and be like, okay, the world is not going to end because those things don't get done right now. You know, they'll be there. You know, someone said something great to my wife about some things are circular. You know, they're like, there is no beginning and end to laundry. You will never get the laundry done, so it doesn't have to be done again. You know what I mean? It's like these things are circular. They're like, they just have to be done incrementally and then they have to be done again. And that's okay. And the concept of that, I was like, oh, God, that helps me so much because I'm always feeling like a song's got to be finished, you know, or like a lot of what I do is like a project starts, it begins, it has a beginning and an end. And the dynamic in the house, it really isn't like that.
No, not at all.
It took me a long time to figure that out. It was like, what's wrong? What's wrong with me? Like, why isn't this working? You know, why is this place always a mess? Yeah. You know, it's like, because it just is, you know, and there's 5 people living in under one roof. I have, you know, 4 other roommates, 3 of them are terrorists and 1 I see every other month anyway.
One you look at and you're like, you had a day today. I had a day today. Good talk. See you next time.
Yeah.
That's to talk about marriage a little bit. I feel like we'll do that at the end of the day. I'm actually a stay-at-home parent. So my 2 older ones go off to school. I stay home with the 3-year-old and then, you know, manage the house, take care of all that stuff. She works a full-time job that's pretty stressful and intense, you know, makes enough money to provide for our family. Yeah. And I feel like we get to the end of the day and I'm like, is it helpful to discuss your day or do you want to discuss things that aren't related to your work day? Like that's the starting point some days of like, I want to know about your inner world and how you're doing. Yeah. But sometimes your day, some people's days are just so much that you get to the end of the day and it's like, I actually haven't had enough time to process it myself. So, I mean, I'm not against processing it with you, but I haven't even gotten enough space away from it to process it for myself. So, let's talk about TV. Let's talk about something else, you know, just so I feel like I can actually communicate to you.
Yes. Yes. That's so true. I mean, and we're at a weird point, like right now where it's sort of like my work is so sporadic and like up and down. And so like I'm covering, you know, dropping some kids off in the morning and then picking them up like in the middle of the afternoon,
like 3 p.m. right?
It's so I sort of have these like half days, like 1/3 days, and then my wife works full time, and so we are just like, ships in the night, and
Yeah.
like, the weekends come and the weekends go like blinking,
Yeah.
um and it's tough, it's like, uh it's just a strange reality, and
Hmm.
it's a real slog
Yeah.
to like pay the bills and make enough over here to save for over there, and
Yeah.
then I go on tour. Most summers I tour. I didn't tour last summer, but this summer I'm going out with Vince Gill, and we're playing like 40 shows,
Oh, yeah.
which is quite a lot,
That
like
is.
from May through to the end of July. So I'm going to be gone like most weekends.
Hmm.
But my wife's still working full time, and then it's just like the scheduling and
Oh, yeah. It's a nightmare.
it's a nightmare, like the covering of these little increments of time, because you
Yep.
can't quite get back in time. And
Yep.
I mean, that I feel like that is the most exhausting part of our reality right now.
Yeah.
And my wife is so amazing at like figuring out who to call and when to call them and what times they need to be here,
Hmm.
and she's amazing at that. I'm not nearly as amazing at that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a skill. It's a very unique skill set.
It's a great skill, and I just, but there are other things that I cover,
Yeah.
and that she doesn't have to do, and it sort of balances out at the end of the day. But it's tough. It's tough right now, and it's tough on a lot of young families. I
Hmm.
feel like, economically, um, and and then on top of that, like the quality of schools, like
Yeah.
that whole thing, which you never think about, like before you
Oh,
have
yeah.
kids.
No.
Obviously, you never think about which school district you need to be in to get your
No.
kid into the best school.
Yeah.
Like that was another thing that came as a total, like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And thing that we've struggled with and had to figure out. I mean, we're about to move again.
Hmm.
I mean, we've moved 7 times in the last 8 years.
Oh, dude.
I mean,
Have you unpacked boxes? Like, I just want to unpack boxes after a while.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, I should become a professional U-Haul
Yeah, you
packer.
should.
Like,
Or just
like
play Tetris all the time because you're
I mean,
basically playing Tetris with the pods.
yeah. Well, my brother had the handheld Nintendo when I was a kid, and I used to kick ass at Tetris, and I think all that shit is paying off
That's
later
it,
in life.
man. Fine. Your parents said it wouldn't be good for something, and here
Yeah,
you are.
yeah. They were wrong.
They were
I
wrong.
was right.
That's now when I see your kids play video games all the time, you're like, no, it pays off in about 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my daughter the other day, like, she's obsessed with block puzzle,
Yeah.
which is the modern day version of Tetris. And I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, I mean, it can't, maybe,
Yeah, that's
maybe
fine.
it
That's
might
fine.
come back around later.
Okay, you do a lot of research, and then you hope your research was correct. And then you
Yes.
get in the school, and then you hope your research was correct. And then
Yes.
maybe you have to make adjustments, and then that changes to a different year. Then teachers have left, people have moved on. And
Yeah.
every single year in national school systems, which in a lot of school systems, honestly,
Yeah.
felt like a constant weight of, I just want my kid to be educated and be a decent person. How do I make sure I'm doing this correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. And it turns out that's a lot to ask for nowadays.
Apparently, yes. Oh man, that's a whole other rant.
Yeah,
That-
I know. It's tough. I mean, we're about to move again next
Mhm.
month. And I do feel really good about this being our last move
Yeah.
for a good long while. But it's been hard.
Yeah.
We tried homeschooling for a while. And we figured out we're not really designed to be homeschool parents. We're just
Yeah.
not.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah. In much as we would like to be, that's just not for us. But
Yep.
we've tried private schools, we've tried public schools, and it's just tough. It's
Yeah.
tough to find the right thing, and then when you do find the right thing, it often changes, like you're saying,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
and then it's just a moving target.
Yep.
Everything is constantly shifting and changing, and And one thing we have tried to keep constant was our son, especially our son's friendships, like
Okay.
from early on. Like his best friend from when he was 2 years old is still his best friend
Cool.
now that he's 9 years old. Even though
Yeah.
we've moved away several times and bounced around, we've really tried to be conscious of keeping them connected and close.
Yeah.
And I feel like, even though physically we've been elsewhere, it's been good for him to have some solidarity like that.
Yeah. It's really hard because you are trying to create the best life for your child ever. I feel like parenting is really also one of the few areas in life in which you never know like what your return on investment is. Like you're basically investing into a child, you're investing into a life, and then you're like, I don't even like, I know I'm causing damage here. I know I'm causing trauma, and I don't even know what it is because I'm not even choosing it. There's going to be something you need to tell a therapist later because I am who I am. And I don't even know what it is. Yeah. I'm trying my best and I'm still going to cause damage.
Yeah.
And you breathe it in, you take some deep breaths and you say, hey, you're human. And that's what you are. But some days I don't want to be human. And that's just reality.
I know. That's a good way to put it. You just want to be the superhero and get it all right all the time. And
good luck.
That ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen. It's not. Yeah. How we end every episode is we ask every guest 5 questions to close out the episode. First question is, did you have any backup names for your kids? Like, were there any names you almost named your kids?
No.
Okay.
Nope. No backup names.
How were you so confident?
I don't know. My wife and I, once we decide on something, like that's it.
Okay.
And each time we had a name for the child and we saw the child when they were born, it totally resonated with them instantly. And we were like, all right, that's Lucy and that's Billy. And
that's awesome.
That's Cass. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have a least favorite kids show? Like whenever your kids watch it, you're almost like, or movie where you're like, this is the worst show I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah. Power Rangers.
Like original Power Rangers or like
No, the new Power Rangers.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the original Power Rangers either. Mm-hmm. I cannot stand the Power Rangers, man. Like the suits and the whole thing and the voices and the faces don't change.
The whole thing, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can't do it. Power Rangers, no.
I feel like I remember the original being on TV and being a kid and being like, I don't know what this is, but this is not very good.
Yeah, right. This is definitely budget.
This is budget. This is trying to be something and it's not hitting the mark.
Yeah. And it's still going.
It's still going. Still going.
I don't know.
Next question. Do you have a go-to replacement curse word? Like whenever you're around your kids and you want to say a curse word, but you're like, I probably shouldn't say that in front of them.
Here's the thing about curse words in our house.
Yeah. This has been an answer before if you're going where I think you're going.
My wife and I, we don't really hold back when we really should.
Yes.
And we really should, but we really don't. But the kids at this point, they know we can say it and they know that they cannot say it.
That is awesome. We had one guest who was like, oh yeah, instead of shit, I say shit. And I'm like, God.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, our lot, they don't stand a chance, man. They're going to have potty mouths. It's just the way it's going to be.
That's awesome.
We work on other things and we try to do better, but that's one thing that we're just...
You're like, I have a healthy level of self-acceptance that I have an awful mouth.
Yeah. I mean, I have, yeah.
Yep.
That's one of those things where I'm like, I'm not going to.
It's not changing.
I just don't think I can do any better.
This is the best I can do. Other things, improvement is possible.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Second to last question. Favorite kids' toy or activity, like something you do with your kids that's like playful that you enjoy doing with them a lot.
I love going fishing with my son. Cass.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful time that we get. And I love taking all the kids to this little ice cream place after school sometimes that we go to, and we sit outside on this picnic table, and they have these big Jenga blocks.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's always in a good mood, and it's really like we make really sweet memories at that little ice cream place. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And last question, is there any moments of your kid's life you're excited to be a part of? Like a general, like as they go through life, you're like, man, I can't wait for them to experience this moment type of thing.
I would love to see them. I was a very driven child, like I dreamed big dreams, and I have been fortunate enough to like really realize most of them, really, like 98% of them. And I know my parents, when they saw me like play the Grand Ole Opry for the first time,
Yeah.
like having talked about it when I was a kid, and like seeing me 10, 12 years later as an adult, young adult, like on that stage, I know there was probably a level of pride that they felt, and they knew how hard I'd worked to get to that point. I suppose to witness something like that, like a child's dream really come to fruition, um I would love to see that. But I suppose more than anything, like uh seeing them be joyful in their everyday lives, really, like getting to witness them getting joy from the simplest things, like just knowing that they're happy.
Yeah.
Even if they're not achieving these monumental things or whatever, like uh I I suppose there are big events in our lives, and sort of marker points,
Yeah.
marriage, meeting someone you really love and want to build a family with, and that's a beautiful thing, and all that. But I don't know, I think just seeing him happy
Yeah.
in general would like really make me feel like everything's going to be okay
Yeah.
for a minute.
Yeah. No, I think it's the hope we have for all of our kids, right? Is like,
Yeah.
it's the knowledge of like, hey, I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
And like, I hope you know that. I hope I appear human to you, but also you want to like talk to me still.
Yeah.
and like, and
Yeah.
that like you are just somewhat grounded and
Yeah.
happy in like your existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Realizing that our parents are still children just like us, you know, I would, I guess I kind of look forward to the day to, seeing them look at me and realizing that I'm just like you.
Yeah.
I'm just, my body's older, and
Yeah.
I'm getting wrinkly, and my beard's white, and but I'm still have the spirit that you have. It's
Yeah.
the same thing, I am still that.
Yeah.
I just, yeah, that realization for me with my parents was like freaked me out.
Yeah. No, it's this
I still struggle with it, to be honest.
Yeah, you make your parents more human to some extent as opposed to whatever figures they were whenever you were a kid. Because everyone still has an inner child inside of them that wants to be known.
Yeah.
And you see glimpses of it in your parenting, and you're like, oh, wait a second. What's this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like spirit, doesn't really have an age.
Yeah.
It's like an energy that just seems to defy aging and all of that, and once you see that, in an older person or in your parents or whatever, it's like, I think that's a pretty like really human realization of acceptance of everybody.
Yeah.
It sort of like levels the playing field, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. No, I think it's always interesting because I think that like all of us are trying to understand our parents, but not justify them. Because like there are things that that people's parents do to them that like hurt you, cause wounds, whatever.
Yeah.
So you don't want to like justify like my dad did this, my parents did this, but you do want to understand. There's usually a reason why they were who they were.
Yes.
So I feel like there's always this delicate balance of like,
Yeah.
I want to understand who they are, but I'm also not trying to justify who they were.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or judge necessarily.
Yeah. That too. Yeah. Because that's real easy to do.
It's real easy to do. And, that's a whole other.
Sorry, I got us off on a deep tangent.
No, it's fine. And I'm happy to go there because I've certainly spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
a journey.
It's a journey, and it's so much to manage. And you're like zooming in, zooming out constantly, and analyzing and hyper analyzing, and then your children that just amplify everything.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly your childhood, which seemed like it was starting to get away into the distance, is right back in your face.
Yeah.
And you're trying to fix something in yourself that is happening to them.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's bullying my son or something's going on, I am right back in the schoolyard to my situation, and I'm like, I'm emotionally there, and I'm like, I'm trying to fight a war that is way back in my past and is completely different to his, but it's hurting him. And it's like all that stuff becomes such a mess.
It does.
It's like really hard to keep your head on straight in those situations, I feel like.
It is. And then you're also, I feel like in those moments, I'm trying to figure out like, what am I responsible to in that moment? And what I'm mostly responsible to is my child and making sure they know they feel safe, heard, and understood. And then secondary is like, what was that internal battle inside of myself that just happened? Yeah. And do I have the energy to decipher that in any way? Oh, nope, another need. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So, and that's where like the stress comes from, is you compile this like mental list of like, I have work to do on myself. If I can ever remember to do the work on myself.
Yeah, exactly. Or bring myself to make a list of the work.
One of the two. Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But anyway, before we get off on another deep tangent, other way we end the episode is just self-promotion. So like if we want to listen to your music, your Instagram handle, do some self-promotion.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, if you want to tune into my little YouTube channel, that's it's called Jedd in the Shed. It's a little show I do when I have the time and energy to do it, which I just posted an episode today, but I sometimes I'll do 5 a week and sometimes I'll do 1 a month. But there's that, and then you can hear my music anywhere on any music platform, Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. It's just Jedd Hughes, Jedd with 2 D's, Hughes. And if you're out and about and you like country music and you want to go listen to some Vince Gill, I'll be out there playing guitar with Vince Gill this summer. Yeah, which will be fun, and maybe opening some shows. So come on out to that. Oh, May 4th is my record release show here in Nashville. Nice. At 3rd and Lindsley. It's going to be on Lightning 100, which is a local radio station, live on air. May 4th, 7 o'clock. Come on out if you can, or tune in to WRLT Lightning 100. And
Instagram handle. I think that's the only one you haven't done. I don't even know if you're that active on Instagram.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just Jedd Hughes. You can find me easy. Yeah. And Facebook is good too, whatever.
Yeah. You're out there. Just Google Jedd Hughes isn't a common name. You'll find you.
Yeah. There's only one of me.
There's only one of you that we know of.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks, Devin. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for wanting to be on. And genuinely, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for being a good hang.
Yeah. Enjoyed it.
Cool. Thanks, Jedd. See you next time. Thanks.
See you, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the episode.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Imperfect Dads Podcast.
And make sure to subscribe and rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to us.
The music is provided by the Wildfeathers.
And all episodes are produced and edited by me.
Make sure to tune in Mondays for new episodes.